Joining us now, Jeffrey Lord, CNN political commentator and contributing editor for The American Spectator, and Maria Cardona, CNN political commentator and Democratic strategist. The New York Times report says that the president told the two top Russian officials that Comey was a crazy nut job. Jeffrey, do you believe it? And how damaging is this?
Yeah, I mean, probably he did. I mean, Donald Trump in many ways is Harry Truman-esque. He just puts it right out there. And I don't have any reason to doubt that he would have said this here.
But what was he referring to, though? What do you think he was referring to? Well,
that's the thing, Martin. I don't believe that there's any there with this Russian business. This is where we're now in yet another day where there's no evidence that anything happened whatsoever. So all we're doing is just running with a New York Times story that is a little gossipy about what was said in the Oval Office, but it produces absolutely no evidence, none, zero, that there was any collusion with the president and the Russians.
Maria, do you buy that?
Absolutely not. I love Jeffrey, but he has got to take off his beer goggles when it comes to looking at Trump for what he is. Look, if there's no there, you don't get a special counsel appointed to the investigation. Not only that, but we can see with our own eyes what happened this past week. Look, Trump fires Comey, then the next day he invites into the Oval Office one of the biggest known spies and spy recruiters that are Russian, and not only makes fun of Comey, and we can laugh about that, and we all agree that that is Trump par for the course, but more importantly, he says to them that he fired Comey because he felt pressure about the Russia investigation, and now that pressure is gone. Donald Trump in the White House, I would argue, is the biggest accomplishment, or one of the biggest accomplishments in history of Russian operations and Russian intelligence. Whether we find collusion there or not, I think we are seeing before our eyes the accomplishment of what Russia tried to do, and frankly was very successful in terms of throwing the election to Donald Trump. That is why we have a special counsel. That is why we have seen so many direct ties between the Trump campaign and the Russians. So we'll see how this all plays out.
Well, we will, Maria. I just want to bring in a little bit more conversation here. Jeffrey, we have a special counsel to investigate whether there was wrongdoing, not that it supports necessarily there was wrongdoing. I want to bring up this, though. First on CNN, sources say that Russian officials bragged that they could use Flynn to influence President Trump. Is that going to be a liability for the administration? And yes, you've got to be dubious of the source.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Russians or any foreign leader or foreign country can brag about anything they want. I mean, it can be true or not true. I mean, I just think that this is ridiculous. I mean, the part that I find ironic, having worked for President Reagan, Democrats spent the entire Cold War saying that we should be nice to the Soviets. I mean, there was Alger Hiss, for heaven's sakes, who was convicted of spying for the Soviet Union. I think that's a lot more serious over time. Dwight Eisenhower had the Soviet chairman to Camp David. President Kennedy sat down with him. Reagan was criticized for not meeting with Soviet leaders. I mean, Ted Kennedy was trying to connive with Yuri Andropov to interfere in the 1984 election. I mean, I just think the history of this is pretty rich for Maria or others to be criticizing Donald Trump and Russians.
You know what's rich is when you have Russian spies in the Oval Office and the President of the United States sharing highly classified information with them that came from Israel, a close ally of the United States, but a nemesis of Iran, which is one of the closest clients of the Russian state. That is rich, and that's why we have a special counsel investigating this whole mess.
Well, I didn't even get to ask you all about Comey, who is going to testify. I guess we'll have to save that for another time. Jeffrey Lord, thank you very much. Maria Cardona,
Thanks,
thank you as well. Great to see you both.